Hello everyone, it's Cheryl Millett here, live at 5 Mondays. Waiting a week to do the next live at 5. It seems like a lot of information can happen in 1 week. So I probably will go with 2 just to keep it to 2, but not to do it more than that. I think it'll be a little bit easier just with all the information. So welcome to Live at 5 if this is your first one. The idea is all things healthy. Start off with something completely new, completely different, something that maybe something that we're aware of from the past, but we have forgotten because there is so many things that come forward from the past that can be helpful in today. And then just go something that's kind of come up with something inspirational, and then whatever's in the news, and then some humor, some laughter, some puns, jokes, whatever it is that comes through. I've got the Irish slang, the Irish book, the Irish feckin' book of slang, which you can kind of interpret that on yourself. But for yourself. For this is Monday, and we got a lot to go through. Hopefully we'll get through it less than an hour. But the first thing I want to bring up as far as the something new is parsley. Now, it's nothing new. The beauty of parsley is it's been around for a very long time. It's probably one of the herbs that was readily available and is still readily available almost all year round, and easy to grow inside and easy to grow in your garden is parsley, except that it doesn't, you have to plant it every year, but some have been able to keep it protected enough that it will come up. But parsley has a lot of benefits, and the good thing about parsley, well, it's not sweet as you know it. And I remember as working as a waitress, think of this, working as a waitress, 12 years old. I mean, do we do that today to our children? Not really, but yes, you can imagine in a restaurant full-blown working with all the people. I think maybe I was the youngest one at the time initially, but definitely, yeah, serving at that age, I couldn't even, when my kids were 12 and I was thinking about doing that myself to actually have them exposed to all kinds of people. Now this was a small town, so it was it was cool, but that's where I learned the coffee cleaning machine, glass to clean the hard water off of glass. So there's some fun there. But let's look at the parsley. I want to bring it up because of its benefits, and the way it can be used in our diet is so much more than what people are actually using. I was going to bring some out, and now that I have the dehydrator, people, you might be familiar, this might happen to you as well. You'll buy a bunch of parsley. You don't buy sprigs of parsley, just 1 or 2, or even sometimes you only need a half a cup for a recipe, but you buy a bunch, and they're usually this very large bunch. So I want to go through how to store it properly. There's a few ways, but once it's simple, then you don't have the mess you do with it and have to throw out a lot of it. It will last for weeks. And I think that's important too. In this day and age, we don't need to keep going spending money on getting something and then have it sit around. But anyway, so it's very well known, parsley. For most people, it's very simple. It's almost in some ways a staple when it comes to, a number of the recipes and books, those things here. But these are, I'm going to post this link up. I try to find links for you so you don't have to make notes, and it kind of comes from that, even when I unpack things, so it's helpful. But let's think of the fresh parsley and the dried parsley. When I'm going through this list of recipes here, or the areas where you can use them, if you have dried parsley, which I've been drying the leaves of celery too, and then I just did a combo and mixed them up. Now with the dehydrator, it's easy to do. I know I'm not going to burn it, but if you have a toaster oven, it's really easy to dry either the celery leaves or the parsley leaves. You just put it on as low as you possibly can, and just keep an eye on it because you don't want it to, you don't want to put any oils on it or anything. That will burn it for sure. But here's some of the things. So frittata, this is the fresh parsley. If you can think about all the things like hummus, a frittata, tacos, any of that, that's very, very good to toss in after the fact. You don't really want to cook it, just toss it in fresh. Meatloaf. Yeah, that's an easy one. So whatever type of meatloaf you make, garlic fries. So garlic fries, one can prepare extra tasty garlic fries without even actually trying the dish. Now, I'm not sure what garlic fries are to do with things. Just toss the dish apart anyway. Garlic fries. There must be some garlic and there must be some potatoes in there. No recipes here, just ideas. Sandwiches. So in this case, they say a chickpea sandwich, but think of any sandwich: a tuna fish sandwich, a salmon sandwich, an egg salad sandwich. Like all of these sandwiches, you can put a layer of fresh parsley on it, or you can mix it right in. That might be easier, make it stick together. You can add it to smoothies. So even just one sprig, just pinch in a few things. And of course, what's going to happen when you start adding herbs to your smoothies is it may change it up a little bit, but this is not a bad thing because we tend to have the biggest taste buds for sugar. Huh? We tend to have the sugar. Um, Dressing as well. When I was doing the 1 week raw food, veggies, fruits, there was, well, you couldn't use any nuts, seeds, anything like that. Had to be all fruits or veggies. And parsley was one of those things that you could add. I think I made my salad dressings out of, and let me remember, lemon, pear, and then you could use parsley. There's a simple one there: lemon, pear, and parsley. Mix it all up together, and it just kind of coats, gives some flavor to your bowl of lettuce. Mix it with pesto. Yes, so pesto is something that it typically contains basil, but you can do a combination of it. And in fact, I don't even have to use pine nuts, which are very expensive. You can use other nuts to make pesto, so that's pretty cool. So just about anything. And then, so here's a triple salad. In this case, consider whatever greens that you have. And I like green salad on their own, so you don't have the heavy vegetables going to the bottom. And then the heavy vegetables, I'd use them in like the coleslaws and the chopped kind of vegetables, those kind of things. But here you can, baby greens, green onions, and lots of parsley. Get used to the taste. Grow those taste buds. So any meats or anything like that, you can mix it with the juices after the fact if you have something like that. One of the things that I would say it's just not on here is to put a sprig of parsley on people's plates because it's great for the breath or to cleanse the palate. Maybe not so much cleansing, that's what sorbet is, but it would kind of change it up, and it's just nice to get used to that taste. So here is why would one involve parsley in their daily diet. So this was something that I learned, which was new, is the rich amount of vitamin K. Now this might be plant vitamin K, but nonetheless, it's good to get a variety. So quite impressive to cure cancer, believe it or not. So when we're thinking about putting in our smoothies, you can get up to half a cup, anything like that. It's rich in iron, that dark green, leafy, as opposed to we're thinking of spinach and things like that. Parsley would be better. And then the herb and anti-inflammatories, which is anti-inflammatory properties. When you get a lot of these vitamins and minerals and certain things like that in the plants, it's going to be good. So it's going to be helpful all over body when it's anti-inflammatory. Seen as inflammatory is something that's part of every component of those chronic conditions, which was really all of them, right? Cancer, MS, ulcers, heart attack, diabetes, all of those is chronic conditions. And lastly, parsley contains beta carotene, which is the plant form of the vitamin A, so an actual antioxidant, protectant, anti-inflammatory in that way. So it's all good that way. So storing, I'm sure it says some great things here, but this is how I would say it. I mean, in some cases they say, yes, you can rinse it. Now, sometimes with rinsing things, this can be a problem. This is where things can start to come about because they're just too wet. So what I would suggest for parsley, if you are going to rinse it, because you just want to be able to pull it out, not have to rinse it, is to make sure that you take the bunch of parsley and you just, you can take paper towel and kind of take out most of the moisture, or what I do is I just tap it against the edge of my sink and try to get out as much moisture as possible. Then what you would do, in this case they're saying wrap them slightly in a damp paper towel. Now you could do that if you like, but what I find is you just get out a glass that you would use for water, and you put in some, you chop off the ends. That's very important to remember. It doesn't matter if it's this or celery. You're putting it into water to maintain its freshness, is to cut off the ends, and then you would put it in some water. And you don't need much, just a little bit of water, cold water. I use my spring water, but if you have filtered water, the better water. Then you would just put a little bit of water. And then what you'd want to do, now they actually have some containers for herbs, and they have like a lid on. Like these are specifically for herbs. You put them in, and then you have kind of a lid to go over. But I just put over a bag, and sometimes it's those thin vegetable bags you get when you're shopping, or you may, you have those wax paper, the wax papers I was showing that I put my lemon into, something like that to cover. You want to mostly cover it. Parsley is much better than coriander, that kind of thing, or cilantro. But it's kind of to cover, and it's just loose. You don't want to seal it tight. I mentioned this about the fridge. The idea is you don't want things sealed tight. You want some air. You want some breathing room. And so you just kind of lay over some sort of a small bag or something like that that would just lay over it, and then you just put it in the fridge, and it'll be good for weeks. So that's the only thing. Yep, very affordable, but I'll put that link up. That was the thing about parsley that I wanted to talk about, because it's an easy thing for most to do, and there's no sense me talking about all kind of crazy things that actually you can't get a hold of, or they're way too expensive, or they're a bit exotic, whatever it is. Parsley is one of those that are way on the other end of the spectrum when it comes to that. So parsley, so get your parsley and use all of it, so you never have to throw your parsley away ever again. Just think parsley. Anytime you're making something, think parsley. And if you have some and you want to dry some, sometimes that's just a little bit easier with certain dishes like pasta sauces. You just want to put a sprinkle, you don't want to chop, you don't have time. So it's great to have some of that dried parsley on hand just for that. It calls for a teaspoon of dried parsley. You can add it to dishes easy that way. Soups, stews, anything like that. It's good with fresh parsley, absolutely. But if you find yourself every so often just wanting to keep it simple, then do that. So I have my checklist today for sure, because of all of the info. And never mind having 20 windows open, I think I have 40 windows open. But it's great. It's all good. It's all good. So one of the things, inspirational. So I just thought I'd add that into today. Inspirational. So I heard this. Most of you may be familiar with Chris Guy, but if you're not, I'm going to post a video of him. I think it's through Instagram, and I can post it here. And it was lovely. And so Chris Guy, I'm just getting to know him better. I have seen him at the protests, and he's done a lot of good work. But what I connect with him most to as well is his common sense around things. So somebody was mentioning on a call, in Sylvan's call the other day, about knocking pans and pots and pans, and at the end of the day, we're trying to get people's attention. But if you don't, if you got a headache, oh my God, you're gonna run away from that, and it's not going to be sitting well with the noise. I prefer peace myself, but we don't want to be a nuisance, because this is where police officers and cops and stuff like that, this is where they will start to come in and step in when there's being created a nuisance, or when you get you just profanity, those kind of things where we don't want to do. So the idea is, to keep it on point, which is what we want to do. We want our freedom, so you don't want to wear a mask. You want your freedom, so you want to travel like Chris Guy and come back. You want your freedom, so you confront, and you have the courage to confront your principal and say, listen, my daughter's exempt from a mat. Oh, you need a letter? You need another letter from the doctor? Nope, not going to do that. But you know what? I'm going to do a complaint because it's unlawful. And there's a little bit of a process there that Chris goes over. And he did this on Sylvan's call. So if you're not hooked up to Sylvan Henry's call, please send me a private message with your email, and I will get you connected, so you'll get all the wonderful emails that he's sending almost daily now with news links, with being introduced to various people who are making a difference and an impact on this. But here's the inspiration. The one thing I was watching in this video is give. I think it, now correct me if I'm wrong, but it was on something, whether it was a t-shirt or it was a mug or something, but the acronym GIVE, which is give inspirational vibes every day. So give inspirational vibes every day. And this is the whole thing, not only for us, but for other people and for collectively to make a difference in the world, is to raise our vibration. And who can raise your vibration better than you? And if somebody else is able to make you smile, well, you chose to smile. So at the end of the day, you raise your vibration. So by actually saying kind things or giving off these good vibes, you're just constantly raising your vibration more and more. So that's the inspiration. In the news, all right, watched an excellent video Eric sent me. So thank you, Eric, but thank you everyone for sending all of these various emails, articles, and things. Will I ever get to all of them? Probably not. There's too many. And I think for anybody on here who's looking for balance, yeah, already forgive yourself for not being able to watch everything and anything, and drop this a long time ago. The thought that I want to watch everything, am I missing out on something? Drop that. You know, me personally, and if you have to, great, because the balance is there. You know, so walk the dog, eat well, any activity that you need, reading, nourishment for your body, but nourishment for your mind, all of those things, you know, in balance, spending time with family and friends and connecting. So let me go jump right into what Eric's videos here. And I will post this, as you know, I will post this link. And this is, just kind of go, I did have I made some very sloppy notes, but that's okay. This is WHO, insiders blow the whistle on total immunity of Bill Gates throughout. So, you know, big words, insiders blow, that kind of thing. But at the same time, this was some people that came together, people that were familiar, this particular person. Don't ask me to repeat her name. I think she's from Sweden. And the other fellow, the doctor, lawyer I recognized on there, has been on some videos with Rocco Galati, and they are in touch with each other, and he does mention his name. And so here's the idea. She was involved in She was involved in creating documentation, education regarding for preparedness for anything that comes about. The only thing is, it never came to fruition to give this education, even though she wanted to, and they started to, but they never did. So was it a big deal that they did, or the big deal that they didn't? At the end of the day, I'm not saying that was good or not. Maybe people would have got clued into what was going on, perhaps. But the interesting thing, and I have to look this up, is that, and now this was dated, I think this is very important. If you are sharing videos or going to look at videos, to actually check the date. Check the date, the timing. Just get some idea of a timeline here. So this is February the 21st, 21, so recent. A great video, a great video. And one of the things that came up in there was the PCR doesn't work. So on the WHO website, apparently somewhere in there is the comment that PCR tests don't work. Alert, PCR tests don't work. But, and two good points, and I would have come up with the same thing. Why is the WHO not blaring that out? Why are they not sharing it? Right? Instead, and then to share it in the sense, as they say, to stop using it. Right? So in one respect, I think it's 194 countries, I'm going to go by memory here, 194 countries are signed up under WHO, giving them to permission to actually make calls. So that was interesting, that was shared as well. Okay, bye Glenn. Wish you could stay too. But you can always listen to it afterwards. So the idea here is, one, with this video, Apparently, the WHO has taken, has some sort of like a contract. I'm going to try and kind of see if I have my actual thing here with it. Again, it's terrible state to do. Obligation, that's it. 194 states, I don't know if that means countries, with the WHO have signed. When they signed, they actually have an obligation to respond to what the WHO has to say and what wants you to do. Okay, that makes it so easy when to understand and go and historically and backtrack as to why all of the countries and their leadership or the governments or political could listen to Tedros to say what he said and then follow through with it like that. But it does seem like a plan at the same time, right? Why were the N95 masks not available early January? Another thing about the WHO before I go, I don't want to lose the thought, but the other thing about this video is really giving, and they went to a deep dive, is about saying Gates. Gates is part of GAVI. It's within Switzerland. And within there, he has immunity, immunity to pay no taxes, immunity not to have criminal charges or criminal investigation or anything come in, want to take his computers. So within Switzerland, he has this agreement with them there as under the GAVI. I'm not sure what GAVI means, but it's something to do with these injections. I'm just going to call it injections all the time because I don't want to give it the energy on the other side. So apparently Bill Gates, though, and I don't think this, from what they're saying, it wasn't ever voted in, but wanted to be his own country, wanted to be maybe the 195th of the World Health Organization and the states and the people that are signed up. Hey, Marcia. Hi, Sharon. So the idea with the World Health Organization, more and more, we should see the inconsistencies. The World Health Organization, since April, I mentioned this before, they also made a statement about masks not being good or not being effective, and they also make the statement that they recommend 1 meter distancing and not 2 meters. But I can see, and maybe you can see as well, is the peer pressure or the people pressure onto the government, safe, safe, safe. Once you put people into fear, and politically or whatever, I mean, you've almost got your agenda down. They'll be begging you for it, to do all the safety measures. This is so driven that way when we think of many different things. So those are the three things. Who calling out an alert in small print about the PCR test not being effective, stop it now, but not making a public statement and doing any of that. And then the other thing is the corporation entity part of WHO and having obligations from the states that are part of it, the 194 states, countries, even the United Nations is a corporate one, and the fact that Bill Gates has immunity in Switzerland and GAVI to do with these injections, almost like he is got his throne there and he can just dictate with his money. And he's been putting in a lot of money in order to make this happen, right? Oh, that's old age. That's old news, right? Money. Follow the money. But also, if you have money, you can buy your way in, buy things, because what does money give you? It's the same pharmaceutical companies, JDRF, juvenile diabetes, when I was there. Who gave them the most funding? They got as much as they could get from the people, but the rent that was being paid, other things that were happening, were all coming from the pharmaceutical companies. And I was privy to that. So that is that show video that I'm going to post down below. You're a great, I think a great one, because it talks about the different ones. One of the things I will say here is worldwide disease. Actually, they did bring up cold and flus, but I want to take it into, I'm going to post this more than anything, the numbers. So in some cases, as I was talking to, I think I mentioned, or may have or may not, I can't remember to who I mentioned, but I spoke to Toronto Public Health this past week, and some interesting bit of tidbits that kind of come through. First and foremost, let me read off a statement that came out in a letter that was delivered through the Toronto District School Board, and I try to read as much as I can that way to stay on top of it. And then I want to speak to Chris Guy and the mask scenario too. It'll be a reminder. Here is the sentence, the very first sentence of this letter. Recently, new strains of the virus, well, they don't even know what the old strain is, really, or whatever strain, that causes COVID-19. Listen to those words again. Recently, new strains of the virus that causes COVID-19. So I was speaking to the Toronto Public Health about this. I said, to me, it sounds like COVID-19 is symptoms. Now let me read it with the symptoms, and let me read it in a couple of different ways to interpretation. So she couldn't disagree with me, and she didn't really know, and there was much of disconnect between the hospitals and Toronto Public Health, right? So Toronto Public Health takes the reports, the information, you're positive, and then they just follow up and they do all the follow-up, but it's the hospital and the labs that are doing it. So she couldn't answer my questions in that. Fair enough. They're not up to speed on that. They've kept them completely different. But recently, new strains of the SARS-CoV-2 that cause COVID-19 have been identified. Recently, new strains of the virus that cause symptoms, right? So virus and symptoms, there are two in here. You can't say new strains of the virus that causes the virus, right? You can't say that. Now, whether they got this wrong or not, I have heard this before, and that's why I said, hey, I'm going to call Toronto Public Health, because I'm getting this phrase in as I understood it and how it's been communicated to me in the past, right? So there you go. When they say, these are all the, you just kind of get more of clarification what I'm talking about here. This is language. Right? Language. So you have the thing called coronavirus viruses. But then as I go to talk about the injections, I'm going to bring in the new word, adendovirus, a new word. But stick with me in here. So you got the coronavirus, this is a family. You've got SARS-1, SARS-2, right? And then you have COVID-19. And they talk to the injections of being COVID-19 injections to deal with the symptoms. So if you've done enough research on it, you'll see that that's how they talk about it, to support the immune system, but it's not the virus, it's not the actual virus, which I'll go through. I don't want to pack the whole thing, but we'll go through just a couple of pieces. So that was interesting, but the other tidbit that came out was the people were getting multiple tests of the COVID to see if they had it, you know, before you go on the plane, and that I never got the answer on whether or not they're all packaged together. But here's a scenario. When you have COVID, when you have the symptoms, okay, so when you have COVID, which is the symptoms, you cannot test for another 3 months. Okay, just in case the information gets lost out there. Oh, go for a test. You got to come back to school. You've been tested positive. You had some symptoms. Oh, go get tested again before you come back to school. But here, no, you can't. What she said to me clearly was, and I made her repeat it, repeated it too, cannot test for 3 months, for fear that they're going to have a positive test because they have the dead virus or the dead material that they're trying to catch you on, even though the PCR tests are not accurate. So I did ask her, why do we still have lockdowns, when I remember once upon a time they had said, you know, if we're over 1,000, if we're under 1,000, we're going to open things up. And she just went, yeah. I said, well, here's the numbers. I mean, here's the new numbers. I was right on the Toronto Public Health website quoting her the numbers. And I said, look, now we've got this, and then we've got that, and we get that. And she can't answer me. It's not really their they just can't go up to government, let's say, our supposedly good leaders, and say, hey, this is what you promised. Okay, you've got to do this now. You've got to untake. No, this is not what happened. Toronto Public Health, in my opinion, has very little jurisdiction over things. When I mentioned to them, I had a conversation with the director, I said, Toronto District School Board is saying, without a shadow of doubt, pressuring that these vaccines are mandatory. And that's what they're, and I read off pieces of the email. She says, well, that's not true. And so we went on the website, looked it up. All the children do is they need to know who and who isn't vaccinated. That's for adults too. All Toronto Public Health requires. That's all they need. You pass this around. That's all they need. They just need to know, are you vaccinated or not? That's it. There is no mandatory vaccinations for children at any age. None. Zippo. Zilch. And I just heard a story from my daughter, so I'm going to speak it to you now. When I went to the pediatricians with my daughter, she was around, I think she was 15, she might have been 16, but we went, and of course my daughter wanted me to come with her, and so we're there, and I was stopped to go into the room with my daughter. No, she's of the age now, she can come here. Well, this 5 years ago, or 6 years ago, 5 years ago. And what came out of my daughter's mouth next blew my mind. In fact, I have right now the Medical Association websites up right now. They're going to get a piece of my mind. But here's the thing. What my daughter said was, they said, well, your mother, you're going to be 16 soon. You can get the vaccines, Your mother doesn't, she doesn't have control, she doesn't have a say anymore. You have the say. Do you want the vaccine? Now, I'm not sure if that was the exact language, but when my daughter explained to me, because she wanted to go to the doctors, she said, well, maybe I don't have the same doctor. It was about, breathing and mouth breathing. You know how you go read things on the internet and you start thinking all kinds of things. Bless people for you all doing it. Anyway, so we had a conversation about it, but she says, I want to go see the doctor. She says, well, she goes, well, I can't see that doctor anymore because I'm over the age of 18. I said, well, that would be the first people to call. Why don't you give them a call, trying to get her to give the call to the doctor on her own, and she didn't want to. And then this is where that information came up of the way they treated her or the things that they were saying. So that made her, she didn't even mention to me back then because she didn't want to make me feel bad. And she kind of felt like, oh, is there something wrong with my mom's choices? They're being young. So just, be aware that doctors are doing this. Now, I like the pediatrician we had, but at the end of the day, when they pull that kind of stuff, I'm like, this is the wrong person to pull it with. So they'll be getting a call, and I'll be putting in a complaint. Love them, whatever, but at the same time, I'll have conversation first, one step first, right? So let's go into the next thingy that we have to go into here. So that's the conversation with that. Just wanted to let you know that. And that, the way they're kind of working. I mean, and we're talking 5 years ago. You can imagine what it is right now. So I was going in on the numbers, and let me find the one India. Here we go. So I was kind of diving into the World Death Clock. And I just going through multiple sites. Well, this is going to blow your mind. It's going to blow your mind. It doesn't surprise me. And I'll put that link. So this is Med India, and this is a particular coronavirus total deaths. So coronavirus, as they say. Now remember this language here of all these names. So here's what they say. Coronavirus COVID-19 global cases by the Center of Systems Science and Engineer. And here's the freaky thing about it. You can go on to the Health Canada website and you can't get 2020 because they don't have it yet. You look at all these world meters and they're all showing numbers. So they're either working what I call with models or something like that. I don't know. Every time somebody dies, get a death certificate, automatically goes in the system. But here's total deaths. So 2 million. I mean, there's a number of million of people that die deaf. It happens all the time. And I want to share another story if I can remember it too. So, here we go. They talk about all these numbers. Italy, 87,000, right? Spain, 57,000. That's it. United Kingdom, 103,000. Korea, Washington, Korea, South Korea, 1399. Switzerland, 9,300. I'm just rounding. Germany, 5,500. Henan, China, 22. Belgium, 20,000. Philippines, 10,000. I don't know if I can say this name. Anyway, Heilongjiang, China, 13. Iraq, 13,000. Now, when I said 13, not 13,000, 13. Iraq, 13,000. Sweden, 11,000. It goes into the states. It breaks out Georgia, 3,000. Louisiana, 1,400. Algeria, 2,800. Florida, 964. Well, hold on a second. I thought Florida was loosey-goosey. They should have a lot more than that. New Jersey, 7,700. British Columbia, 114,000. Oh, Beijing, China, 8. I don't know, Guangdong, China, 8. Shandong, China, 7. Diamond Princess cruise ship, that's the 13. Egypt, 9,000. Well, you gotta get Brazil, 221,000. Anhui, China, 6. Chongqing, China, 6. And China, 6. Hubei, China, 6. Now, we're not talking thousands here or hundreds of thousands. Denmark, 2,000. So you have all of these. Hong Kong, China, 4. Hunan, China, 4. India, 153,000. How is it that China can be closed down for a month? Then they open up, 2 months later. They've got it all under control. Doesn't make sense at all. But look at this. China, 3, 6, 3, 3, 3. This is the China. Ecuador, 15,000. You all know it. Gansu, China, Ganji, China, Gizu, China, Liani, China, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. So I'm going to say like that. Dominican Republic, 2,600. Like, how do you do, Australia? This is good. Australia, 2. Okay. Alberta, Canada. Jilin, China, 1. Zhejiang, China, 1. Fujian, China, 1. Inner Mongolia, China, 1. 1, 1, 1. So it almost doesn't make sense. Carousel, Netherlands, 1. I know, maybe that's just an island on there. Panama, 5,000. Peru, 40,000. Russia, 70,000. Taiwan, which is kind of part of China, 7. Cayman Islands, 1. Mississippi, only 1. That is cool. But, all of these things, South Dakota, U.S., 1. Anyway, so interesting, so total deaths. So I wanted to kind of share that with you because I thought that, so here's the annual deaths are 56 million per year. That's, now they have estimated number of deaths this year on Monday, March the 1st is 92 million. Now we do have an aging population. There's definitely things that have to be, considered when you're crunching numbers from billions to millions. Millions sounds like a whole lot. And then there was another thing that I went through with Health Canada I'll bring this up to later. Which one is the one? It was comparison. But the comparison over the percentage of differences was so small, very small. So small, it was so crazy small that, again, we can get hung up on the thousands, but it's in here somewhere and I'll find it. There's several of them. But really, the number of deaths in Canada 2001 to 2020, it's not unheard of the way you look at the numbers. I mean, it's not crazy. It's nowhere near. I'll find it, but there's another particular website here that just talks to the percentage differences in the last 100 years. It's really the low numbers. But I'm going to share what Chris Guy said about the other day. And what I heard him say was that China had two, and you may have heard this anyway, but just get it out there, had 2 deaths of children in gym class that were wearing masks, and they died. And after that, they banned the masks, and and everything's been opened up. They've been partying, partying, and partying. So are they not testing? Or are they testing on low cycles? Those kind of things. And then I'll post a reminder. This is a reminder, short reminder. It's an older video, but at the end of the day, sometimes we need the reminder that certain things were said when, and here we are today, which should lead us to question, what do we need to do? Right? What do we need to do? And it is clear that banging pots and pans isn't going to get the attention. In fact, they'll probably put you in an asylum if, because you're probably gonna just, your energy is just gonna be so, how can I say, bouncing all over it. You know how sometimes if you get a little bit angry, it's easier to get a lot angry, and maybe getting things out is the one way, but if you have people pushing back, and then now you've got conflict, and you feel you have right, you feel you have freedoms, but then things can just escalate from there. So I think banging pots and pans probably isn't the right way, but anything that we would normally have to do, and I'm going to put normal in there, but what we have the right to do and where things are unlawful is that's what we should be doing, not wearing masks. And as far as distancing goes, I don't pay much attention to it. I see some other people don't pay much attention to it either, and other people who are concerned about it will move away. And that's, it's simple as that. At times I just do it because there's way more of them than me. When I was had to line up for an auction, pick up an auction item, and there's 8 people, there's hardly anybody there, and what's 5 feet? Not 6 feet, but what's 5 feet between people? But I didn't have to wear my mask, even though they solidly on their website say wear a mask or no service, and I didn't. I had my scarf around here, but I didn't. So kudos to people who actually are probably not paying attention as to what I'm doing, or don't really care. But I'm hearing more and more that people are definitely getting more aware of what's going on, but at the same time, there's courage that needs to come about for all of us. Courage. And I'm happy. I mean, if you're in Toronto and you go, oh geez, I'm just not so comfortable going in a store by myself, and you want to come with me, yeah, feel free to come with me. Come with me. The simplest thing that most people do, and even Chris Guy brought this up, is you just walk in and you keep walking. You just keep walking, and you're just kind. It's all good. I'm exempt, and you just keep walking. If you stand there and you want to have a conversation with people, that's where things get, they can get maybe offside, and for people who don't have that much courage. But I just keep walking. Sometimes they'll stop and see, do you have a mask? I say, no, I'm exempt, and I'm just kind of standing there for a couple of seconds, and they don't have much to say about it, because really 99.99% of the people that are coming in are putting on their masks. But to put on your mask for the sake of others right now, knowing that this situation, this event, as I like to call it, is potentially an exercise, as some people say, potentially an experiment, potentially for governance, more governance and more control. And maybe it's just, they say global stuff all the time, but I don't believe that every country is where they are. In fact, just hearing from somebody that the countries, this is my friend Susan, the majority, there's countries, several countries, a handful of countries that are, like Trudeau, are good, whatever you want to call him, governor, whatever you want to call him, leader, is not wanting to back down, whereas other countries are going, what, and so they're like bashing him, and so good on them. Good on them for doing that, because it's where we call people out. Doesn't matter what position they are. That's got to be a good thing. That's got to be a good thing. So it's all good. What else did I want to speak about here very quickly? Yeah, some cool parsley puns today. I just want to make sure I've got a lot open. I know there was another video that I wanted to speak about too as well. Let me see if I can find it. Oh yes, so the document, actually I downloaded it into Word, is what, and it was fairly descriptive. You want to watch it, but here, Anne sent it to me. Let's see if I'm going to have access to it. Oh, of course it's not responding. But on, I have the link for it, but I wanted to save it into a Word document so I could, as I usually do, mark things up. But this talks about the differences in the vaccine. Like UK has an AstraZeneca, from Oxford, and then we have Moderna and BioNTech and Pfizer here. But in this document, it goes through it quite a bit. But what I find interesting in the words is, so-called, these or that. I mean, when you use the word so-called, what do you mean by so-called? Or modified, actually. I haven't finished marking it up, but here's the key thing that I want to talk about. It is clear from here that the pieces of DNA and RNA, depends on which vaccine we're talking about here, is pieces of material not from the isolated virus. No, it's not from the actual SARS-2. It is from, I'm just going to go by memory here because it's a very big document. It's a adendovirus from a chimpanzee. And they absolutely know about, oh yeah, modified. So on top of all of this, it's modified. So the Oxford AstraZeneca team used a modified version of a chimpanzee adenovirus. What if they didn't get it correctly? What if, just like theories and models, known as CHAD, probably OX for Oxford 1. And so it can enter the cells, but it can't replicate inside them, right? So whereas the ones over here in North America, or at least maybe the ones that they're mentioning for the US, can replicate. So why would you want these adendoviruses, cold viruses, actually coming into your body? And why would you want to have that actually be fought against by your immune system when if you heard the things around exosomes, or why we would have a cold or a flu to begin with, is actually to protect our body, right? Even mutated cells, which they call cancer, is part of our body, and it is because we don't eliminate them. So right off the one read here is like, why would I want to multiply things that are about detoxing the body? Why would I want to have the body do it? It should be doing it naturally. And two, I wouldn't want my immune system to get all up in arms against the natural viruses that our body produces to help us detoxify. Why would I want to do that? And there is, if you've researched enough, indications that these injections, I'll even call the V ones injections, to support our immune system, but yet a multiple of either neurological or autoimmune conditions are coming up right from the allergies of cats and dogs when they were using their, I don't say DNA, but their material, when they were putting that into the vaccines. And it's foreign, right? It's foreign. But here's the interesting thing, and as Anne alerted me, I got to go right to the bottom here. There's a timeline. Love the timelines. So I'll just insert injection timeline in here. January 2020, researchers at the University of Oxford Jenner Institute began work on a coronavirus injection. Check out that timing. Jan 23rd. When did we go for our first lockdown? Middle of March. So, as the mask expert from Alberta in Canada here has mentioned, when he went to call in, I think it was either end of December or early January, for N95 mask, which he uses for the training because it's the lowest respiratory mask, training, whether military, government, or where he taught a lot of people, he couldn't get any because they were sold out. So he got the one above, like 97. And I've been asking people if they knew that there was one that they could get and order that was above the N95, just average people. And they say, no, no, never heard that. So the idea is, I would say it's PLANNED, easily enough, easily enough. And the idea is let the numbers speak for themselves, for sure. And we just keep sharing in our natural way. So there's a whole timeline here. So I'll put the link up on that. And but that's my first read through it. Is that's what I read through it. So let me think if there was something else that I wanted to. Yeah. Yeah, I was going through the, remember I said I was going to contact the Ontario Medical Association, at least first. And so I thought I'm going to go through their website because I think one thing that is um, interesting for all of us to do is to actually these videos, and we're hearing what we're hearing about people, is to go and look at the World Health Organization website, Ontario Medical Association. They have videos from people from the front lines, from the oncologists, and in there, when they're answering the questions and doing their videos, nowhere that I've only watched 3, so not even half of the videos, do they talk about pandemic. Nowhere in there do they talk about, oh, we're crazy, oh, we weren't as prepared. No, they don't talk about that. The things that they talk, the stories that they share, doesn't even involve that at all. Clinical lab scientist, yes. So I'll post this again because this is something I have been sharing with people, which is the lab, the scientists, and possibly doctors as well. They took the 1,500 corona positive tests and determined that 80% of them were influenza A and the rest of them like influenza B, but no, what they were looking, no coronavirus. And then they did ask CDC for some material that they could use. Maybe they need to double check maybe what they know is coronavirus. Remember the language, coronavirus, not CoV SARS-2. They keep, coronavirus, coronavirus. And so just listen to the language that they're putting in. If they say COVID-19, I would say symptoms. People might be using it incorrectly. So be mindful of that when people say that. But I'll post that again because it's important for us to see how, again, if you're new to this, then this link is very good. But there's definitely other things. I'm going to post a couple of additional articles for you to read. This is a good one, offguardian.org, a synthetic mRNA COVID vaccine, a risk-benefit analysis. So this is, I believe she's a nurse, and she does talk about Dr. Martin. She has a lot of numbers here, but according to the CDC, the survival from COVID, even with the inflated stats, is as follows: under 20, 99.997, 29 to 49, 99.98%, 50 to 69, 99.5, and over 70, 94.6, which is probably not unheard of considering the aging population and how much of the aging population may be held together with medications and those kind of things. And they have 1, 2, 3 or more comorbidities, in that case, conditions that they're going to eventually be dying from, and they're on a lot of meds. Meds will bring down your system. So that is crazy. Now I just remembered what I was thinking about. I was going to mention earlier to say is a friend of a friend, emergency doctor at Sunnybrook, had said how he hasn't seen as much young people in their ICU as before. So sometimes people get excited for proof that the SARS-2, I'm going to call it, if that really exists, is probably man-made, but the idea that it exists. So my thing was, we're a year later and we have a number of people, especially young people, are actually using masks. So they've been, I don't know how long, and maybe it'd be interesting to ask all the people in there certainly is a question I would ask the emergency doctor there. Is, well, how have you done an analysis of how often these guys wear masks and how long they do? And then the other thing which my daughter mentioned is there is so many more kids, teenagers in their 20s, vaping, which in itself has been proven to cause damage in the respiratory system. So that was another good point. So we can hear these things, but we need to ask ourselves the question, um, what is it more about? We need to ask questions, really. That's what I would say. So I know we're getting on to the hour. If there's anything else, I'm going to move it through. There's some things I know I have to read, but let's get into the fun part. And the first one is the second book of Irish slang. So I'm going to read this. So what you're doing, you're just learning Irish slang here. And the word is pog, whether I'm saying it correctly or not, with an accent. And so a pog means a kiss. So the usage is, well, it started off as a little pog on the cheek. I'm due in September. They kind of put, there's always that slant about that. But anyway, that's a pog. So a pog is a kiss. And I'm not sure if I'm saying it correctly. But that's that. Then the other story here, again, I kind of like this, the idea of bringing up hypnosis. I'm going to show you this picture, and then I'll read it out. But because a picture can speak 1,000 words or whatever, I'm going to see if I can do it. So it's the bottom one where it says hypnosize. Oh, hold on. I got to go the opposite way. So you see hypnosize. Now I'll read it. So this is probably the instructor be saying it. You are in a deep, deep sleep. When you awaken, you will feel sweaty and exhausted. That is hypnosize. Now this is a very, very old book. Reader's Digest, laugh out loud. I'm going to wrap up with some parsley puns because they're funny. So let me bring them up here. What do you call not much parsley? Sparsely. Now, I want to go down here because this was funny. This is a picture. This is partially my fault. Yeah, I go out and give herbs to the poor, and you call me a cilantropist. All right. I helped my kid put his caterpillar on a parsley plant. The plant is now partially consumed. I'm not going to read the next one. The next one, but I like this one with George Carlin here. If a parsley farmer is sued, does that mean they can garnish his wages? And one more. Why does parsley grow so fast? Why does parsley grow so fast? Because it's always in a race against time, as in the herb. Anyway, there you go. Laugh or don't laugh, smile or chuckle, that's up to you. So thanks for coming on, everyone. I'm just going to end the live at 5 now. There's a lot of information. I'll put the links below. And I think I'm keen to come on twice a week instead of just once a week. So it'll be live at 5, whatever day it is. But definitely live at 5 Mondays for sure. But it'll be one other one just so that I can feed the information as it's kind of coming in. I know there's a few things I'm missing here, but needless to say, enough is enough. Have yourself a good evening and a good rest of the week. And we will see you again live at 5. So take care, be calm, find anything that whatever makes you happy, whatever puts you into a creative state. Be kind, because when you be kind to others, you're being kind to yourself. Take care. Bye for now. Any questions, comments, or anything, post them below. Shares, love them. Keep sending the videos. Thank you very much. Take care. Bye for now.